Everyone sees the wins and the highlight reel from social media, but nobody sees the amount of times I've tried to quit. Hi, I'm Alex, and this is Clout Nine. It is a social media podcast where we're going to focus on creators' origin stories and how mental health has impacted their journey. Because I feel like there's not a lot of places where people are talking about social media and mental health. Everyone's just creating this perfect profile online, but I know deep down there are stories behind it. So Clout Nine, as you can see the name right here for those watching, it obviously comes from Cloud Nine because anytime you go viral or get a little bit of clout, you're on Cloud Nine, everything's amazing. But what happens when the clout fades? What happens when you're no longer relevant? That is exactly what I want to talk about on this podcast. I have been in social media for 20 plus years. I've been making videos forever. I've been interacting with so many amazing different creators. I've built a career off of social media. It's been amazing. But after meeting so many other creators and talking to them and all sorts of different niches and whatever you want to call it, everyone is struggling with the same thing. Nobody has any idea what they're doing. They're all just trying to be this perfect image of what they think everyone wants. And behind it is, a creator that might be burnt out, might be suffering from hate comments, They might be, suffering from anxiety, or they might be burnt out, or maybe the hate comments promoted them to get plastic surgery. Who knows? But I know that every single creator out there is not perfect and they have something to say about it, and there's nowhere for them to talk about it. There's nowhere. I have looked around. Yes, you can talk about it on your own platforms, but what if there was a podcast where you could talk about it, where you could get your voice heard and your story heard? You're basically educating new creators, but you're also sharing your story so they understand where you're coming from. Because I know there's a lot of pressure to be perfect online when no one is perfect. And how do I know this? Well, I've done the same thing forever. I have tried to curate my perfect feeds. I've tried to Facetune all of my photos. And you know what? Nobody cares if you're perfect. At the end of the day, it actually makes you more human if you're imperfect. So I wanted this podcast to show everyone that a lot of these creators and how they've built their businesses, it didn't happen overnight. A lot of people assume that, you go viral once and that's it. You become super rich and famous. It's not how it works. A lot of your favorite creators, artists, actors, etc., they have all gone through the 10-year overnight success story, or in my case, the 15-year overnight success story. That means it might look like you've gone viral overnight, but it's the 10, 15, 20 years of hard work that you've done before that have got you to where you are today. And I remember that moment for me, and it was awesome, and I'm still growing on it, but it didn't just happen overnight. So who are you going to see on this podcast? All the guests on this podcast are anyone who has made a living online and has seen either success or failures, and I want your story. Anyone who's made a living online, I want your story. You could be a Snapchat influencer, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Neopets, MySpace, I don't know. I even one time met a guy who was making a living doing eBay. I need to find him. He would be a great guest on this podcast. So yeah, this is something new and something exciting. Before I even started the podcast, I've told a few friends about it. They all got really excited about the concept and the topic, and so here I am to share it with the world. Now, for those watching and listening, you're probably wondering, who is this pink-haired, raspy voice girl who keeps glitching on how she's talking and speaking? Well, hi, I'm Alex Drachnik, and this is my very first episode of my podcast, so thank you for being here. But I have been on social media for 20 plus years. I've built a business, and now I'm here to talk about it. So here's my origin story. I have been making videos since I was literally 13 years old. My parents had cameras lying around the house, and one day my school project was to make a music video. So I used my parents' cameras. It was so much fun. My friend taught me how to use iMovie, and that was it. I was hooked. From then on, me and my neighbor would make all these funny YouTube videos. I would write, shoot, act, direct, star in, give myself awards, produce, PA, get myself crafty. I would do everything on these videos. We were called Jot Productions. It's Jose Ole Taquitos because my mom would feed us taquitos while we shot videos. So that's obviously where the name came from. But I had so much fun making these videos when I was younger. I was heavily inspired by SNL. And I was online during the early days of Smosh. I'm pretty sure my original account was started maybe a year or two after YouTube went public. I don't remember, but I've been on it a very long time. And so I remember when I was younger, I told myself that I was going to when I grow up, I'm going to have my own film production company. I'm going to make movies in the film industry. That was my goal. So I spent the next, few years of my childhood making all these videos. And I remember one of my first viral videos in high school, like ever, this is when Kesha first came out. Everyone said I looked like her when I had blonde hair. So I made a fake music video to one of her songs that didn't have a music video. And I titled it Kesha Sleazy Official Video. And it ended up getting 300,000 views on YouTube, long form, on a song that I don't even own. Love you, Kesha, if you're listening to this. And I remember being like, wow, this is fun. I was never doing it for the views, but it was just really cool to see one of my videos like pop off. So that kind of kickstarted a little fire under me. So I did it in high school. I went to community college, and then I went to San Diego State, go Aztecs, and I did the film program there. Mind you, all while growing up, I've always been posting on social media. I was posting on YouTube. I was posting on Instagram, everywhere. I was using those silly little borders. I think my Instagram actually didn't start until I was in community college. So I was always posting on YouTube, and I made so many fun videos. Anytime I went on adventures with my friends, I'd bring my camera and I'd edit it with way too many film burns that were unnecessary, but really cool back then. You know what I'm talking about. Anyway, I get to college. I end up doing the film program there. And, the cool thing about San Diego State is it's a very heavy business school, which means every business needs, that's right, social media, videography services, photography, you name it. So I was like a big fish in a little pond. I think that's the right way to say it. Anyway, I ended up, doing all the content for all these businesses. And I realized it was so much fun and I was really good at it. So, still posting on social media, yada, 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 go through college. I graduate. Now, my first job out of college, you guys are going to laugh. One of my first jobs was, you guys obviously know CBD, right? It's very popular, whatever. Well, back in my day, when I graduated in 2016, CBD and weed was not legal yet. And so I worked for a CBD company doing like their social media posts, but it was the most corporate job I've ever had in my life because it wasn't regulated yet. So I work a 9-to-5 job, making content, shooting products for CBD. That was like my first real job outside of like gigs I've had. And then from there, I got another job. Remember the era of making top-down cooking videos like BuzzFeed used to do? Well, I ended up working for a startup that had 10 million Facebook likes. So they were a Facebook page with 10 million likes or followers, and they would constantly post content. And one of their main pieces of content was top-down cooking videos. So I ended up making hundreds of top-down cooking videos. My hands were famous, for a little bit there first before I was. And that was kind of my first introduction into making social media videos for large scale. And it was cool and all, but I was bored. I was like, okay, I just graduated college and this is it. I want to go make movies in Hollywood. So I left that job. Meanwhile, I'm still posting on social media, you guys. Don't worry, I'm always posting on social media. And Instagram is popular at this time. So I leave and I go to LA. I was like, I'm going to go figure out how to make movies in LA. This is it. This is going to be my dream. So I go to LA. I had no job because I wanted to work in movies. And back then, how it worked, I don't know if it still works to this day, you find all the Facebook pages that say, hey, I'm looking for a production assistant, or I'm looking for a PA, whatever. And if you were the first person to comment on that Facebook post, you got the job. So that was awesome. I was getting all these random gigs, just working on different film sets. I was like, cool, I'm doing it. I'm working on film sets in LA. Except when I don't work, so let's say I don't get a gig one day, that means I don't get paid. And if I don't get paid, then I got to go look for more gigs. And it was a very cutthroat industry. It still is. And back then the PA rate sometimes was like $100 a day for like a 12-hour day. Like, I don't even think that covers it was crazy, but I loved it. All that mattered is I loved it. So during this era, I had just started bodybuilding. Because of course I'm doing side quests. So I'm bodybuilding and I'm starting to post a lot of fitness content, bodybuilding content, trying to make my page all aesthetic. It was very not me, but whatever, I was going with the times. My page has gone through so many phases. So I'm getting more into the film scene. I'm getting more into film, the film gigs. And then one day I finally get a chance to be a PA on a big TV show, a union TV show called SWAT, all because of a girl from my college who became an assistant director in the union. She got me on the show. Awesome. And so I worked a couple days on that, but I didn't get enough days. You know, I worked a little bit, but not enough for it to be like substantial. So I ended up also working as an assistant on the side. And then my fitness career was starting to blow up a little bit. And a friend had recommended I start an online fitness business, which hell yeah, why not? Another source of income while I try to make this film thing work, right? So now I'm a fitness influencer. As I said, all my content is fitness related. So I'm posting fitness content. It's going well. And one day I get a DM from this brand called Musical.ly, which is now known as TikTok. And they say, hey, you should join our app. And I'm like, why would I join your app when I'm already wildly successful on Instagram? At the time, I had like 30,000 followers on Instagram. But whatever. I joined TikTok. I post a little bit, but I forget about it because, you know, it's a new app. I'm not as excited about it as like I should be. So a couple months go by, and one of my girlfriends who had heavily joined TikTok, she hits me up and goes, hey, you need to get on TikTok right now. They just verified me and I have like almost 1 million followers. I was like, what? She goes, dude, this is the next big thing. Trust me. And I was like, all right. Because now at this point it was called TikTok. So this is right before COVID. Okay. I was like, all right, you know what? Fuck it. I'm just going to jump on. So I started posting all sorts of different types of content. Nothing made sense. It was like random clips of my day, like Instagram stories. I did not know how to use TikTok at the time. I was like, whatever. But I'm trying everything. Then I started to do dances and trends and skits, and I was just doing everything. Nothing was consistent. But I remember my first video that went viral on TikTok. It was me doing like a funny makeup tutorial where I'm just like throwing makeup in my face, and then at the end, my makeup looks nice. I was getting ready for a wedding. Well, that video ended up getting like 700,000 views in that first day. And I was like, whoa, oh. That's how they hook you in. It's like a drug. Like they're like, oh, keep posting. We might give you 1 million views. Oh, here you go. Take it. Nope, no more for you. So then you're craving it. But I still didn't understand how this works. So I would post like 50 videos in a row. Nothing would go viral. And then the 51st video would go viral. And I was like, what? I don't get this. So yada, yada, yada. I'm like, okay, I'm about to go all in on this. And then COVID hits. And I was like, cool, COVID hits. Now all the film production is done. It's shut down. Thank God I had this online fitness business because that saved me during COVID. I made a lot of money because there was nothing else to do. Anyway, I made so much content during COVID, all sorts of fitness videos. Like I was going live on Facebook for fitness. I was doing workouts. I was dressing up as characters. It was so much fun, but I made so much content during COVID for TikTok, and I think I gained about 200,000 followers all through COVID, which was amazing. But it was a variety of content. It was like making fun of fitness influencers, making fun of influencers, dancing, da-da-da. Again, nothing was consistent, but I was getting there. So it's the end of 2021. Film production is opening back up. I get asked to work on Snowfall, which is a TV show on FX. I was so excited. I got to be a staff PA, which is like, I'm the main production assistant. I have a job every day. Hell yeah. So I work on that for a couple weeks. And then one day I wake up and I am drenched in sweat, and I have a call from my safety officer. And this is still like October 2020, by the way. And he calls me and he's like, you have COVID. And I was like, oh, okay. What does that mean? He goes, well, you get to stay home for 2 weeks. And I was like, oh my God, am I fired? He's like, no. You get to stay home, you have a job, and they're paying you for 2 weeks, which is unheard of in the film industry. But because of COVID, there was like these special regulations. And I was like, okay, cool. And then I sat there after I hung up. And I was like, all right, Alex, you have 2 weeks where nothing is going on in this world. No one is doing anything. You have no FOMO. If you can't figure out how to go viral on the internet during these 2 weeks, you don't deserve to be on the internet. And so I made that pact with myself. I said, I'm going to figure it out. So first couple of days were rough, whatever. And then if you're a girl, you can probably relate to this. When I'm bored, sometimes I love to play with my hair and makeup and outfits and see what else I can come up with because I have nothing else to do. Well, I did that because I've always loved villains, anti-villains in movies and TV shows, like a James Bond villain in tight black leather and she talks with a Russian accent. I've always loved those types of characters, and I've always imagine myself as one of those characters in movies. That's just how I think, like, you know, when you walk around, that's how I imagine myself walking around. So I was like, oh, that would be fun to like dress up as one of those characters. So I like parted my hair down the center. I was blonde at the time. I put all black leather on. I did my makeup really dark. I was like, ooh, I look so cool. And at the time I was doing fitness content, as you know, and I was doing a personal trainer versus fitness influencer. That was like my little skit series I was doing. And as I was doing my makeup and looking in the mirror, I was like, oh my God, I kind of look like a Russian James Bond villain or something. And I was like, wait, what if I did American versus Russian fitness content? That would be funny because, you know, Americans are always like, gee, golly. And then Russians are like, get on the floor and do 20 push-ups. So it just made sense. Plus, growing up, my parents called me Sasha because that's Alexandra and Alexander in Russian. So I immediately was like, wait, I could play this Sasha character as the Russian fitness trainer. And I was like, cool, I love this idea. So I looked up a translator online and I typed in English sentences and it would say it back to me in a Russian accent. And that's how I practiced my Russian accent. No lie, that's literally how it happened. And so I just started making these videos because I liked them and they were fun. And I just liked playing these different characters because it was a nice contrast. And at first they did okay. You know, they were fine, whatever. And I had fun. So I get back to work. Everything's good. I make some of these videos. They're kind of popping off, but nothing crazy yet. New Year's rolls around. I end up getting this long evening gown with a fur coat for New Year's. Why not? My friends and I went to some underground party, whatever. Loved this outfit though. It was super cute. So I get back from New Year's. It's, I think, either January 5th or 6th. And I call one of my PA friends to come over. I was like, hey, you want to come over and make these like Russian skits with me? She's like, I'm down. I was like, cool. So she comes over and I go, okay, we're going to do American versus Russian going to the grocery store. So she does her part as the American and then I do my part as the Russian going, I'm going to store to find the rich husband. I go, duh. And so that was like the whole skit. It was super short. I posted at, I don't know, 8 p.m. on a Thursday night. And I wake up the next morning and this video has 1 million views. And this isn't the first Russian video I've posted, right? This is probably like the 20th one, but this is the one that got 1 million views in literally less than 12 hours. And I remember sitting in my room all day and I was like, whoa, okay, breathe. Because the very next video I post will either make or break this, right? And I've learned that the hard way. As I said earlier, like I would go viral every 50 videos. But already this Russian series was starting to gain some traction. So I was like, wait, what if I just do like a part 2, a part 3, a part 4, a part 5? And then it clicked. I was like, oh, if I just do a series, that's how I can continue it. And so I actually had just gotten a text from the biggest like Russian TikToker at the time. His name's Edward. And he was like, hey, we need a collab. And I said, hey, come over right now. So we made a part 2 to the grocery store video. The part 2, I come back from the grocery store. I go, I've returned with vodka. And the mom goes, did you find rich husband? And then in walks a guy who already has 2 million followers. And the internet goes wild. Oh my God. The first video got 10 million views. The second one got 5 million views. And that was it. That was it. Game over. From that point on, I posted 3 American versus Russian videos a day for a month. And I hit 1 million followers in 1 month because of that series. It was the craziest month of my life. Mind you, I was still working full-time as a production assistant on Snowfall, 5 days a week, plus overnights. And I would come home, shoot my videos, edit them, post them in the morning, and go back to work. It was insane. I don't even know how I did it. And I think I was bodybuilding still at the time. So it was just like a triple whammy. It was so crazy. I would go on set every day and I'm still like a PA who, by the way, I had just gotten into the camera union, which was like one of my lifelong goals. I was like, I'm going to become a cinematographer, a Steadicam operator. And now I went viral on TikTok at the exact same time that I have accomplished what I thought was my dream back then. And so I'm on set still like, you know, day playing as a PA, but then also doing camera department stuff. And I remember like people would come up to me on set and be like, is this you? And I'm like, yeah. What's your coffee order? They're like, yeah, but you're like super viral. I'm like, that's awesome. But what is your coffee order? Like I had no sense of like, yeah, I get that I'm viral, but also I'm trying to do my job. And I remember D. Ray Davis on the TV show, he came up to me and he was like, this is how it starts. Do not stop. And I said, yes, sir. And I've never looked back. That was the last big TV show I worked on consistently. I did some like day playing on other shows, but that was just that month of content was crazy. I literally would work my show, and then halfway through January, when my show ended, I started collaborating with a ton of creators, because that was honestly how I grew a lot as well, was collaboration. And how this happened, by the way, is so random. I was on TikTok live. This is during, my month of like getting 1 million followers. I was on TikTok live. This guy I'd been following was live, and I hop on, and he had just said on the live, "Hey, we're looking for a girl creator who's cool with us throwing her in the ocean." I was like, "Oh, I'm down. Throw me in the ocean. I don't care." And they responded back in the live, and they're like, are you sure? And I was like, "Yeah, just DM me." So they DM me. We hop on the phone. They're like, "Oh my God, wait, this is sick. And also, we'll shoot whatever you want too." I was like, "Cool." This is my first time collaborating with someone with like millions of followers. And this is a shout out to Shane Nagy. This is you. So I meet up with him and a few other creators that day, and I collaborate with them, and then I get all their numbers. And literally every day since, I would collaborate with other creators. It was awesome. And that's how I grew so big. I didn't see my friends for a month, and which was crazy, because imagine someone all of a sudden goes super viral for something, and you haven't seen your friends. So I was a little nervous to see my friends, because I was like, "Ooh, I wonder what my friends think about this." Obviously, I have great friends. They would love whatever I do, but I was still, I'm new. This is my first time going viral. I don't know what's about to happen. And so I go to this party at the very end of the month. I'm about to hit 1 million followers. I remember walking into this party, and everyone's like, "Oh my God, Alex, what? We had no idea." And I was like, "Dude, I had no idea. And here we are." Everyone's like, "What? Like, did this just happen randomly?" I was like, "No, I've actually been making content for a very long time. This is just now popping off." But it was awesome to have all the support from my friends. My friends are still so supportive to this day, which is so freaking cool. And then the best part of this entire story is the fact that I hit 1 million followers on my birthday weekend with all of my friends in Mammoth. It was so cool. I do this Mammoth trip for my birthday every year, and on the very first one, we drove up, and on Friday night, that night, I hit 1 million followers, and I got this tattoo of a vodka bottle. I'll insert an image. I got a tattoo of a vodka bottle on my middle finger the Friday I was driving up, because I knew I was going to hit it. And I was like, this is a big moment. Like, this is really cool. And then the theme for that party was like everyone dressed like Russian. It was so fun. It was just that was the coolest month of my life so far. I mean, there's been a lot of really cool months, but that was the most memorable, and it meant a lot. It was really cool, because I finally accomplished this goal that I've been wanting since I was little, to make a viral series and have it work, That really just changed everything. After that, I was working freelance a lot on random film gigs and collaborating a frick ton. I was also making a lot more money on social media back then, because, if you were getting 10 million views on a TikTok video, you were getting paid pretty well. But guess what? Just because you have 1 million followers doesn't mean you have $1 million. So if your videos start to not get as many views, the monetization goes down, plus monetizing changes, every week at this point. So 6 months after this has happened, I've been steadily growing and growing and growing. It was awesome. I've met so many people. And then one day I get a call from Insomniac, and they were like, "Hey, we have all these TikTok accounts. No one knows what to do with them. And we heard that, you might be really good at this." And what I haven't shared with you guys actually is that even prior to all this, through high school and college, I was always shooting random gigs, festivals, events, etc., weddings. I was shooting so many freelance things. And so this was full circle that I got asked to shoot the TikToks for Insomniac. By the way, if you don't know Insomniac, they throw the biggest festivals in the world, EDC, everything. And so I was like, "Oh my God, this is so cool. Like, wait, this could be actually a career direction. What if I did TikToks for other people?" Because as much as I love doing them for myself, I find a lot more purpose in helping people. I've always been like that. I did bodybuilding. I started a fitness business. I got good at TikTok, started a social media business, because I like to help people understand it too. Plus, as much as I don't want to say this out loud, you're not hot on the internet forever. You can be, and you can be relevant forever if you work really, really, really hard. But I don't think my heart was in it to be that person, because I like helping people behind the scenes. So I knew for longevity's sake that this direction was a direction I really want to go in. So I ended up doing TikToks for them, and it went really well. And then I ended up doing TikToks for Oakley. And I was like, wait, this is awesome. And so I ended up shooting content for DJs and, having some clients on the side. But what I realized really, really fast as a brand new little entrepreneur is that I can't do everything myself. Cool. I have 3 clients asking me to come up with ideas, shoot and edit and post for them. I can't do that by myself for all of my clients and shoot for my own content. That's honestly impossible. And I found that out real quick, how I was so burnt out. I was grinding so hard trying to make this work while shooting my own content, while going to like the Wish House every day and being like a content creator, and like an influencer, but then also like working behind the scenes at festivals and like, working on shoots. It was a lot. But I definitely had set the standard. And basically from there, after some trial and error over the last couple of years, I finally started Drach Social, which is my social media video production agency. And that is now about to turn 3 years old officially, which is so exciting. And now I have this podcast. So going all the way back to why you should listen to me, I have been in this game for a very long time. I have understand the ins and outs, and I'm still learning. I also am someone who has met so many creators in so many different niches. And I've been part of so many different niches now, especially with my social media agency, because we work with every type of company. We have crypto clients, beauty clients, lawyers, festivals. I know influencers and creators and people who have made a living online in every industry. And I know that all of them struggle with similar things. And that's why I want them here on my podcast. So that is a bit of my origin story and how I got to where I am today, which is awesome. And I'm still learning and growing. And that's why this podcast is so exciting. I've already had a few guests on this podcast, and they have been awesome. I have learned so much from some of these guests that I would have never learned if I hadn't talked to them. So not only am I learning stuff, well, not only are you learning something from this podcast, I'm learning as well. But the whole point is it's supposed to be an educational podcast. It's supposed to be a podcast that's going to be inspiring, but also is kind of a reality slap to the face to be like, hey, it's not all rainbows and butterflies over here, right? You're not gonna, just because you have 1 million followers doesn't equal $1 million. You have to work hard at it. Because the whole point of this podcast is, to share authentic, real stories. Some things that I have personally struggled with in social media, especially early on, was when I first was going viral, I was not prepared for the hate comments. No one prepares you for that, right? Because you just assume everyone's nice until you go viral. And now you have all these random people who have never met you in your entire life that are either jealous or insecure, or blah, 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 blah. So they start commenting nasty things on your videos. Specifically, Instagram is way nastier than TikTok. I don't know why, but I had this one video go viral. And because I was a bodybuilder who was muscular, I have a raspy voice. I usually get a lot of comments saying, oh, that's a man, that's a dude. Oh my God, her nose is so big, blah, blah, blah. And I remember this first round of comments I got on a video that got like 1 million views. It really broke me. I was like, wow, this sucks. I really want to create content, but why am I letting all these comments like get to me? And at first you're like, is it because I believe them? Are they right? And you forget to realize all the nice comments that have been left. Anyway, it gets to me still every now and then. I try not to look at them anymore. But what I did to cope with this is I did a little series called Sasha Reads Mean Comments. So if you left me a public comment, I would publicly take your comment, put it on a video, and I would read it like celebrities read mean tweets. I think that's from Jimmy Fallon. But I did Sasha Reads Mean Comments. So I'd be like, oh, you look like man. But you still think I'm hot. Like I would read their comment and then say like a comment back. And it was funny. And honestly, it was awesome. I love it. Like, I was like, you know what? These comments are funny. They're not, I shouldn't take them seriously anymore. Like whatever, you can think whatever you want about me. But that series really helped me cope with them, which was nice. Another thing about social media, I think that a lot of people don't realize is that a lot of younger viewers and the younger generation are looking up to you on social media. So if you have a lot of makeup on and you've gotten plastic surgery and you're wearing all these fancy clothes, they're going to want to do the same. And so I definitely was, someone like that. I watched so many videos of all these gorgeous girls and I was like, why don't I look like that? Why don't I look like that? And you're trying to like copy their makeup looks and trying to look like them. And a question I've been wanting to ask a lot of my guests is, do you think social media has influenced a lot of plastic surgery, right? Because before social media, you just saw people in person. You know what I mean? You weren't comparing yourselves to someone online. It didn't exist. But now when you have your free time and you're sitting at home and you're bored, you're scrolling on social media and instantly comparing yourselves. I caught myself the other night scrolling through social media because I hadn't posted something in like 2 days. And I got really overwhelmed because I was like, oh my God, everyone's posting and these videos are so good. And like, I need to catch up. Like, what am I doing? And I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I caught myself and I just turned my phone off. And I was like, okay, just turn the phone off. You don't need to compare yourself to everyone. Everyone's on their own journeys. And that's all that matters here. And still to this day, I think one of my current things that spirals around in my mind is that I'm not going viral fast enough. I'm not making a new series that people are engaging with enough. I need to think of something new and better and better and better and better. And it's like, you can always be better, but you need to give yourself some grace. I will say the upsides of social media is you can make a lot of money on social media that could actually change your life. On the early days of Snapchat, I don't know if you guys remember, but Snapchat had Snapchat Spotlight and they were giving $1 million a day away, okay? And that was not just to one person, but to like, if your video did well on a certain day and it did well better than other people's videos, you got a pot of that $1 million. So one day I had posted a video and I'm working on set, you know, making probably $150 a day as a PA. I remember looking down and I see some zeros and it said $1,700. And I was like, cool. Oh my God, that's insane. Wow. And then I put the phone down and then I looked again and I was like, wait, there's another zero. And I had made $17,000 from one video that only got 300,000 views on Snapchat. And I was like, what? I remember sitting there and I was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. This is the most money I've made from social media. This is insane. Like, and this might sound shallow, but I don't care. Even before this, I have always wanted a nose job. I've always wanted it. I never knew how I could afford it. And right when I saw that money, I literally called my mom and I said, hey mom, yeah, I just got $17,000 from a Snapchat video and I want to get that nose job. And she was like, I was waiting for this call one day. So maybe social media had a part in influencing me on that, but I know for a fact that when I was little, I was never a fan of the nose. But you know what? And that money and social media and that money helped me now be more of a confident person that I am today. But social media can change your life. It could also break you down. It all depends how you use it. Now, social media is awesome, but I know there are so many people who look at social media like a very complicated math problem. And for some reason, it just makes sense to me. I understand it. I get it. I love the short form video aspect because to me, it makes sense. I can easily create an idea in my head and throw it out there to make short form, and it's awesome. But to some people, it's just like, what the hell? How do I do that? It's overwhelming. It's stressful. And so it's not for everyone. However, social media is for everyone at the same time. If you have a business or if you're a brand or if you're a personal brand, you need to be on social media. It is literally free marketing. You can literally pick up your phone and make a video and it could honestly change your life. Some of my videos, I think back and I go, wow, if I never posted that video, I might not have been where I am today. So every video can lead you to the next spot. However, there's a lot of things creators don't realize. If you're a first-time creator or if you're a new creator, here are some things you might not know. Being a creator, you ditch that 9 to 5 for a 24/7 job, right? You're always on. You're always thinking of ideas. You're always editing. It doesn't matter what time of the day. You're always creating. You're always shooting something and editing something and writing something down. It never ends. And it's really, really, really fun. But it can also be really, really, really scary because you're like, well, what if I just don't have ideas one day? Or what if I burn out? Or, and you will. You're going to burn out. It's going to happen. It's happened to me. And you just have to take a break, take a deep breath, and figure out what's next. The worst thing you could do is quit, and the worst thing you could do is not even start. So do not quit and keep going. Because if I had only made 15 Sasha videos and I never made that 20th video, this might be a totally different podcast right now. Social media, there's a lot of pressure to stay relevant and stay online and be updated with trends and always be trendy and on and, comparing yourself to other people. But you know what? if you flip all that and you look at it in a positive light, it's just growth, you know? Some people get so scared to post on social media. They're like, well, I don't look the way I want to look and da-da-da. And guess what? Your first couple videos are going to suck. You're not going to look the way you want to look, and you're just going to evolve and get better. There's no perfect time to start. You just have to start, you know? So what are you going to get from listening to Clout Nine? Well, besides me rambling in this first episode, you're going to be getting guests that are professionals in their industry. If it's TikTok Shop or Snapchat or Twitter or Facebook, LinkedIn. I don't know why I'm saying all these different platforms that not a lot of people use, but that's why I want to get guests. I literally want to get a guest who's an expert in every single platform, in every single niche. I think that would be so fun. What you're going to get out of this podcast is real conversations from professionals in their industry on whatever platform they made a living on. We're going to uncover their origin stories. We're going to get to know them and understand how they got there and how they're making money, right? Because there's so many different ways to make money online. It's insane. It's really crazy. And already on my first couple of episodes I've recorded, I've learned lots of different ways people are making money. And I'm like, oh, jotting down notes. And then we're going to learn about the pressures of social media, how it's impacted their mental health, how social media might have been a positive, or maybe it's been a negative. Not all of these stories are going to be positive, but not all of these stories are going to be negative. I just want to understand where your mindset is at when you're posting on social media. Because someone like me, for example, I've been online for 20 plus years. Thinking about that is crazy. I have absorbed so much information from the internet that it has 100% influenced me to do a lot of different things. And I'm curious how it's influenced other people. I love that I keep pointing over here as if there is a guest over here, but that's because the other chair is over here. We're also going to have a lot of guests on this podcast who have never actually been on podcasts before. So I think that's really cool. They get a safe space to share their story. And also it's backed by me and my team, and we're going to edit these real nice. So this podcast is for anyone who is looking to become a content creator, is a first-time content creator. Maybe you're, mid-tier, a little bit experienced. Maybe you're an expert level. It doesn't matter. This is for you. This is for anyone who has ever thought about, what's it like being a creator? Or is anyone else thinking the same thing I do? They are. People are struggling with the same problems you are. You just don't know it because there hasn't been a place for people to share those stories. But now we have one. So my first couple of guests I have on are going to be talking about TikTok Shop. We've got voice acting from a very popular TV show. We have a fitness influencer that calls himself a shitfluencer and makes hilarious comedy content that definitely disrupts the feed. We have a fitness influencer who went from bodybuilding to running marathons and triathlons across the country and across the world. And we have so many other guests. My list of people to message is insanely long because I've met so many amazing people over the years. And if you are my friend, or if you're a friend of a friend, or if you're someone that has an awesome, interesting story on how you've made a living online, please message us. I would love to hear your story, and I'd love to get you on the podcast because I think there are so many amazing, valuable stories out there that could influence someone and possibly change their life. The same way that social media has changed my life. Even when we shot one of these episodes last week, during the shitfluencer one, my producer was like, wow, I am so inspired to go and start my social media accounts now. And I was like, wow, that's all I wanted out of this. I just want to inspire at least one person a day with this podcast. That's it. That's all I ask. If that can happen, then I am successful. So this is Clout Nine. I am your host, Alex Drachnik, also known as Drax, also known as Sasha. And this is the podcast for unfiltered conversations with a filtered generation. See ya. I'll see you guys real soon.